in charge of this office.
Okay. And how long in charge of the office?
15 years.
15 years. Wow. And when these rules were put forth on May the 5th of 2009, I'm assuming that you were in this rulemaking process when all this scientific data was looked at, and you concurred that this is what should be done. Is that correct?
It is correct that I concur that the scientific work that was done in our office is the way to go. I would not suggest that I have read all the thousands and thousands of modeling pages that have gone to this.
Sure. But when you were looking at all the scientific evidence, how much evidence did you look at from the biofuel industry or from the farmer as to how these rules may affect them? And did they have any input into how the rules would affect them based on the scientific evidence that you had?
From the beginning of designing this rule, but also all the regulations that we do in our office, we pride ourselves to have an open and transparent process where we do have a dialogue with the regulated communities. In this instance, the regulated communities are the refiners, the blending, the importers, and the renewable fuel producers. So we do have a broad dialogue. Typically, we get together with associations. They bring in individual members. So from day one, we have had that dialogue, how we're going to do this rule.
Well, I know you had a dialogue of how you were going to do the rule, but did you have any dialogue into how this rule was going to affect the people that are actually making this stuff?
It took about almost a year for the modeling to take place and for the results to be available. So the results became available, the preliminary results, I believe, around August of last year. And as soon as we received the results, there were some impacts, like the biodiesel industry. So we brought them into our office, and we shared with them those impacts. And because of those impacts, we have attempted in the proposal to lay out options that will minimize the impacts, and we're seeking comments. And those are the options that I mentioned in my oral testimony, but also my written testimony.
And let me ask you this, being with the EPA for 29 years and being head of this department for the last 15, how much time have you spent on a farm or out looking at some of these different places that produce this biofuel? And I mean, I know that, just how much time have you actually spent out on a farm talking to some of these people that actually produce this, or the feedstock or whatever that's there, that they've been able to show you the consequences of what some of your rulemaking decisions might have on them?
My great-grandfather and grandfather were farmers, but they were in Athens. That's where I grew up, in Greece. I have not spent any time in farms in the United States, if that's your question. But I have spent many, many hours meeting with farmers and meeting with renewable fuel producers throughout the development, not only of this standard. Let's not forget that RFS 2 is being implemented when we're still implementing RFS 1. So we have spent a lot of time implementing RFS 1. And I'm saying this with confidence that the industry that has been involved, both RFS 1 and RFS 2, they would tell you that we have had an open door and figure out what are the impacts and how we can minimize the impacts to those industries. But again, what we're doing here, sir, is we're implementing ISA, the way that Congress passed it, and we're trying to do the best thing that we can to minimize the impacts. We believe biodiesel is important, not only from greenhouse gas emissions, but also it's important because it reduces particulate matter.
And I'm running out of time. I just wanted to know how much time you spend on the farm. And let me make a suggestion to you. And I made this same suggestion to some people from the Federal Reserve and the FDIC. Get out of Washington and go spend some time with these farmers and these people that are actually producing the product. And I think you'll get a new understanding for what some of your rules and regulations can do to them, that we can come up with in some of these nice offices that we set up with. But when you go out and meet with them and see the things that they are doing to protect our environment and how they're reusing their water and what they're doing with their waste and how they're doing with their food stock, I think you'd be amazed at that, and it might give you a little bit more incentive to understand where they're coming from and what kind of scientific evidence that they would like to see these rules based on. But thank you very much.
Well, I'll give you a commitment from now to the finalizing this rule. I will visit the farm. Thank you. We will do that.
Hook you right up.